Kugan Cassius for IFL TV at the Echo Arena here from Mersey Beat. With me I've got trainer Dominic Ingle. How would you rate it as a preparation for his upcoming world title fight?
I wouldn't, count that in as a preparation for his world title fight. I think, the Senchenko was the perfect fight for that, and that was a treading water fight. Kell had to motivate himself for that fight, when really there was nothing at the end of it. It wasn't a title fight. It was something he had to do to keep himself on track. Otherwise, he'd be waiting, over 9 months for a world title fight. So, Kell really did well in that fight. The kid was a tough kid. He hit him with everything. He was still stood there, and you could see Kell thinking, "Why ain't this kid rolling over?" But that's what he needed. He needed the rounds. It'd have been no good in putting in 12 weeks of training camp to do a kid in 2 rounds. It's just a waste of time. It doesn't do anything. At least with Kell in that fight, he's realised the kid's going to be able to take them shots and come back at him, and that's what he did.
Watching the referee, he was obviously closely observing. ROBLES was coming back with some shots. I suppose he didn't seem to be in a great deal of trouble, but then I suppose the corner thought it was throwing in the towel at the same sort of time as the referee wanted to stop it.
I think that you're all seeing judging on the round of applause the kid got at the end, the Liverpool fans appreciated it. And I think if the referee had jumped in too soon, I think people have probably booed the fight. So, he went out on his shield. The crowd got what they wanted. Kell got what he wanted. And I think the referee was close to stopping it, but it wasn't anything definitive there to think, apart from him taking a sustained beating, sometimes people want to see, fans want to see the kids on the bike, and they're not happy with anything else. So, and Kell Brook'S can do that. Unfortunately tonight, he pelted the kid with everything, every shot in the book. The kid took most of them, but he was taking some heavy shots, and it was probably about time the ref did actually step in.
Kell's been in his mandatory position for quite some time now. Is it frustrating for you to listen to people, kind of where there's been 3 fights obviously against Alexander where hasn't materialised, 2 due to Kell, 1 due to Alexander, but it hasn't really been Kell's fault that he hasn't fought for that world title yet. So, and I've read, seeing all these social media sites, people giving him a bit of criticism, another eliminator, another warm-up and that. As from a training point of view, how do you see all that?
Everybody's entitled to their opinion, everybody's a fan of Kell, or they're not a fan of Kell Brook'S, and you can't please everybody. At the end of the day, Kell's beating the kids put in front of him. Eddie's going to get the fights, and Kell's doing well to keep him motivated. He's got the world title fight in his sights. He's had it in his sights for the last 16, 18 months. He's got it in his sights, and he's moving towards that day, and nobody's going to stop him. He's trained off for this fight. It's a stopgap till he gets for the world title fight. He'll have a couple of days off with his wife and his daughter, and he'll be back in the gym. And it's good preparation because he's, like he said in the press conference, and he's being honest, he's 75% fit. He didn't particularly peak for this fight. He did everything he got to do for the man in front of him. He got the rounds in, and he'll be on track for the world title fight, either Malignage or Porter, 14 to 16 weeks, whenever it is. He'll be ready, and he'll be ready for that world title fight and ready to win it.
Malignage fights Porter on April the 19th. Were you a fan of this whole, the Porter camp obviously asking for the exemption and, the winner sort of to face Kell Brook'S, because it's a quite complicated situation, but you were quite happy with everything going on there?
To be honest, the best situation is to leave it to Eddie. Eddie's so far done everything he can for Kell. He's got him the fights, he's got him the big name, he's got him the arena fights. You can't blame Eddie. If Eddie sees fit that he wants to give him an extension for whatever reason, let him do it. But whichever way it is, as long as Kell fights for a world title, June, July, we're happy enough with that. It gives him time to have a look what he's got to do, assess the situation. And when he boxes, whether it's in England or the UK, when he boxes on that night, there'll be no excuses, win or lose. Sam, he's got to be ready for it.
Who would you prefer as an opponent out of the 2?
Floyd Mayweather. Porter's come from nowhere. I was never impressed with any of his fights. He did pull out the performance, pull out of the bag the performance for Alexander. But up until that, he didn't look anything sparkling. Malignaggi's been around. He's an awkward customer. You can't pin a decent shot on him. He made an easy job of Sechenko, I thought, when he beat Sechenko. He's very cagey, very tricky, very durable. You don't hit him with many. So it's just a toss-up. You know, to be honest, if you ask Kell, I would have thought it's one whoever brings the most money to the table, and I imagine that's Malignaggi, because the UK fight fans would probably want to see that fight.
Do you book one as a more winnable fight than the other?
I think they're both difficult in their own ways. You know what I mean? Porter comes in, crowds you out, puts the pressure on you, makes everything messy. Malignaggi stands off and boxes you, makes you miss. They're totally two different fights, so they're both difficult in their own way.
What's your plans for your training camp regarding, you know, if we don't know where the fight's going to be, obviously that's yet to be decided, but are you going to take Kell away somewhere?
Yeah, we'll be training away. You know, for this fight, he's only been sparring the kids in the gym, ticking over, getting his timing right. You know, for Sechenko, he had some good sparring. It was perfect. And obviously for Porter and for Malignaggi, we're going to have a look at, you know, well in advance, you know, probably from next week, what guys we want to get in to come and spar with. Kell was going to give him the same moves as Porter or the same moves as Malignaggi. So really up until a certain point, for the next probably 4 weeks, you're going to be having to look and think, right, who's going to win this fight? Obviously, in 4 weeks' time, we're going to know. So Kell will have a bit of a training down period, have a little time with his missus, 2 or 3 days, be back in the gym just ticking over. Then from 4 weeks, when they fight, Porter and Malignaggi, when we find out who the winner is, then the training camp then will come into full focus. We'll have the sparring partners lined up, everything. So we'll give it 4 weeks, we'll have him ticking over, maintaining his weight, and getting the camp together, get the plans in, you know, have a word with Eddie, find out where the possibilities are. Is it a 50% chance going to be in the UK? Is it going to be a 100% fight in America? We have to take that into consideration, but you know, we'll address those issues when we find out who wins the fight.
All right, well, Dominic Ingle, thanks for talking to iField TV, and like I said, we'll look forward to, you know, finding out first who his opponent's going to be, and then it's going to be there finally.
It's all interesting stuff.
It is interesting. Thanks for talking to us.
No problem.